Good morning, everyone. We'll just give everybody a few minutes to get logged in here. We'll get started here in a few minutes. Let's give people another minute or two in case they're running late here, and we'll get started in just a moment. Okay, it's a couple minutes after 9:30 Mountain Time here. I just want to welcome everybody. My name is Dave Rusi. I'm a business development executive with MBSI Wave. This webinar is being recorded. It's hosted by MBSI Wave in Canada as well as Wave in the US with our partner Cambium Networks. The topic today is QoE, or quality of experience. I think it's going to be a good interactive session. I'm not going to dive into a lot of detail, but I think this is a solution that is good for pretty much everybody's network. We talk about building networks, getting the connectivity, which is wonderful. Get the connectivity out to people. But once you've got the connectivity, how do we ensure that everybody's getting the type of service that they're expecting? We've got a great panel here today. Unfortunately, Sakid from Cambium was called away and won't be able to join us today. Sheldon Lucian from the QoE team will be doing the majority of the presenting. Dave Cullen from MBSI Wave is going to start it off for us. Dave is one of our systems engineers, very familiar with QoE, has set it up, helped customers with the implementation. So he's going to just start us off with a little bit of an overview of what is QoE, why is it important. We'll let Lucian go through some charts, going through the solution. And we have the privilege of having Chris Epperson here from Lightwave Broadband. So he's one of our customers, has implemented this solution, and he'll be here to answer some questions on why he made the decision to go with this solution and some of the benefits he's seen after he's implemented it. Please, we want to keep this interactive. If you've got questions, please put them in the chat window. We will be answering any questions. Again, this will be recorded, so you have the opportunity to go back and view it again later. With that, Dave, I'll hand it over to you and let you get started.
All right, thanks, Dave. Yes, I've been a fan of policy-based bandwidth management for a very long time. In the wireless world, it's one of the key features to enable wireless to be much more efficient than it might be just on its own. But more than that, it's good for all broadband networks. It's good to be able to manage individual protocols. It's good to manage individual services that might be used over an internet connection, and improves the efficiency of any network that quality of experience is applied to. So through the webinar here, we're going to talk about what the QoE is, how does it work, and why do we need it? And maybe a little bit we'll talk about what happens if we don't manage our subscribers, and what happens when we do manage our subscribers. That's the give and take, because in the past, I know many operators have decided that no, we don't need a system like QoE. We'll just rely on what's built into our wireless or our distribution system, and go with that. But this will take your service to a whole new level. And so let's just talk about it here. So technically, quality of experience is the process of managing the IP connection between your subscriber, if you're an operator, and the internet. The subscriber's experience with QoE is that the system is always ready for me. It's never waiting for or if I click the mouse, I see results right away, rather than clicking the mouse and having a delayed reaction to, starting a website download or whatever the case happens to be. More devices are able to be online at the same time when QoE is implemented. So that's in a nutshell. This is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the mechanism that actually makes all of this happen. So in order for QoE to work properly, the operator has to determine what policies that they want to implement on their protocols. Some protocols don't need any policy management whatsoever. They're low bandwidth. Don't need it. But some things like streaming traffic and maybe other torrent traffic, that kind of thing, they can consume a ton of bandwidth. They can consume all the bandwidth that's available to them. And so as an operator, you want to protect your network, plus you also want to improve the performance to every customer, not just one customer. So you need to determine the protocol policies. We're going to go over that in some detail. In the QoE device itself, every frame is inspected. Every frame is delivered to buffers. Protocols with policy are limited to the parameters set in the policy, and protocols without policy, of course, are allowed to pass unabated. Why do we need a QoE manager? Service providers and operators purchase a limited amount of bandwidth to provide their service. Bandwidth is not infinite. Just like spectrum, for a wireless operator, spectrum is not infinite. So bandwidth to deliver services to customers is not unlimited. So they purchase a certain amount. These data pipelines get progressively smaller as the connections move from the operator's core out towards the subscriber location. And the enemy of a great online experience is when some portion of this pipeline is 100% utilized. When no new traffic can enter the pipeline, in other words, if all of us on this webinar were together on the same network and the network were 100% busy, and I click my mouse, then I get that moment where nothing happens, and then I click my mouse again and again. Maybe if I'm a mad clicker, I call them, and I can take and actually get the performance of the network to get worse as more people try to get on. So we need a QoE manager to be able to take and improve this experience so that no portion of the pipeline is 100% utilized at any time. And new traffic can always enter the pipeline and at least begin the transaction. It might be, the transaction might be managed. The data transaction can be let's say buffered a little bit, but at any rate, it's still happening in place of instead of being 100% utilized. When the network's not overloaded, new traffic flows through as if we're the only traffic on the network. Maximum information rate is enforced, and latency latency is pretty constant. But now when we get to the point where the network has got these pipelines that are full, we get to the point where latency is not steady anymore. It is all over the map. Jitter is huge. And so the job of the QoE manager, of course, is to take and make sure that if I want to take and limit my let's say a streaming service to 5 or 8 or 10 megabits or something like that, whatever it happens to be per session, well, then I can take and do that. And my QoE manager is meant to enforce that so that I can handle a lot more streaming services on that network than just 1 or 2 that might actually fill up that pipeline. Latency becomes much more constant, jitter is reduced. I can on a wide open network, it may be very difficult to provide services such as voice because I have too much jitter, and I end up with robot voice as an example. When the jitter is reduced, I can now provide some of these other services that require a very good connection over the very same facility that I've always had for my customer traffic. And we know there's an effect on the internet called buffer bloat, where latency at the beginning of a transaction is low, but as the transaction is passed, the latency goes up, and you can see that, and on some tests such as speed test, Ookla speed test, you can see how the latency goes up, especially in uplink situations, as more traffic flows across the network. Well, QoE is meant to handle and manage some of these phenomena that are actually not very healthy for the network. And of course, the benefit to the operator is that customers are happy; they're not churning. They're not going to somebody else's service because they can't use your service. You keep them. You get to keep the customer. Your customer service looks great, and of course your network capacity is much more efficiently utilized, and you can increase the number of subscribers that you can service without exorbitant network expansions. That's some of the advantages of a QoE manager. So from the early days of wireless, I've been in this business now for a very long time, and so policy management has been a very important part of really any broadband network. So let's get into this, and I'll turn it over to Sheldon here, and he can go into some details of Cambium's quality of experience offering.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. And it was a great highlight of QoE, and love to get into a deeper dive as to how all of these things actually work. So I'm Sheldon Lucien, the QoE specialist here at Cambium, and I've had the pleasure of getting this product up and running for us for, I'd say, about the past 2 years now. And we've had numerous customer experiences where customers are experiencing, so many issues prior to QoE or having some form of a bandwidth management. And as soon as they put it in, it's like a night and day experience. And one thing that Dave highlighted that I want to put a focus on is the end user experience. So as we go through a lot of these features on what QoE does, I want to put this into the perspective of the end user that's sitting at home, like you and I, and all of us today are using the internet, and how QoE impacts that experience. You guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so to start, QoE is a composition of multiple features, one of which I am going to have Ashraf highlight towards the end of this review, which is our newest feature, which is a subscriber group shaping, which is an exciting feature. But let's kind of go into some of the things that Dave mentioned and what that actually means. So the first feature that we have here is TCP optimization. So TCP optimization, considering that QoE sits as a proxy at the data center or at your core. What this essentially does is it's gathering a lot of the TCP acknowledgements from the internet, and it's pushing them downstream faster to the end user's device or the subscriber, whether this be via fiber or wireless. And it's essentially boosting that session to allow more acknowledgements to come down the pipe much faster than a one-to-one type of experience. So this is almost in turn, almost like putting a turbo on your TCP traffic, right? To allow it to speed up and operate faster. So what does this look like for the end user? So you take applications that utilize some form of a download type of session like Netflix, Hulu, anything that has to fill the buffer. And what your customers would end up seeing is a session being loaded up much quicker. So rather than spinning or having to click multiple times for something to load and trying to figure out what's going on, this is where customers would experience a much snappier experience and faster load times. Another feature that's very unique to us and gives you a lot of insight into how your network is performing and what's going on is our network visibility tool. So this essentially, we utilize a DPI engine that identifies all the applications, whether it be TCP or UDP traffic that is running over your network. So that's all of your YouTubes, Facebooks, all of the domains, and you have a graph that illustrates what time those applications are utilized the most, so that you can have an idea as to how to manage that, which kind of leads into our traffic shaping. So our multi-criteria traffic shaping essentially allows you to, like Dave was mentioning, as far as overhead when it comes to utilization. A lot of applications, Netflix, for example, they're going to try to pull a lot of bandwidth just to fill the buffer, right? Netflix, obviously them sitting where they are as far as their data centers and pushing content out to end users, they have a very cookie cutter amount of bandwidth that is set for every session, which is usually around 35 megabits per second, which is way more than is necessary for 4K. So we've identified all of these applications and what it is that they need to perform at 4K and or essentially their best quality, picture quality, which is essentially almost half of that, and probably more than half of that, around like 15 megabits. And essentially what we're doing with this traffic shaping is reducing the amount of overhead to allow for that bandwidth to be utilized in other parts of the network. So what this does for operators who are coming close to their utilization capacity, this allows you to save bandwidth so that you don't have to go and purchase more fiber, right? In most cases, or purchase more bandwidth, where in most cases that can be very cost prohibitive. This essentially allows, a lower CPU, right? Because you don't have as much utilization going on trying to process as many packets. And it just essentially leans out those packets a lot more to be able to travel a lot faster. Another feature is our speed test detection, which is a very popular one. So this essentially allows the end user who is running a speed test. So we identify all of the major speed test platforms that are out there. We identify through your billing system, which we have an integration with all of the major billing systems. And if you guys are customers utilizing a homegrown billing system, we have REST APIs and Radius and different methods to tie into your subscriber rate plans. But we identify what that rate plan is and allow the customer to burst above that. So what that looks like for the end user is they're on their iPhone testing out their network and they want to see that 100/20 package. They would be able to see that on their device every single time, guaranteed, with this feature. So this reduces the time spent on your support folks having to explain to customers how the internet works because they're downloading a video game in the background while trying to run a speed test at the same time. So this is using a composition of a lot of things in the background. It's using some of the bandwidth from, if you're doing traffic shaping, it's using a little bit of the TCP protocols and optimization. So that residual bandwidth allows for the bursting above those rate plans to be possible. Next feature is ACM, which is our automatic congestion management. So this is my favorite personally, because I love low latency. I'm a gamer, so anybody that is running a network that is full of gamers or streamers or anybody that's doing anything along the lines of interactive traffic, this is the feature for you. This essentially uses a machine learning algorithm that identifies times within the network that are congested, latency spikes, and this will manage that traffic speed according to when those instances are happening, to slow down those thresholds to allow that session to be able to hit its mark. So essentially what it's doing is it's reducing the latency all throughout your network, all the way down to the end user device automatically. And one thing that I may not have mentioned is TCP optimization and ACM, they work hand in hand. And it requires no configuration. So these forms of optimization and boosting, in a sense, of performance boosting, is essentially done with just the flip of a switch. And these two features alone, when QoE starts, your QoE server starts taking traffic, automatically kicks in and it will automatically start to impact that network performance immediately. And lastly is our DDoS detection feature, which doesn't mitigate DDoS attacks, but it does help identify the IP addresses that are compromising. One thing that we get a lot, or is kind of buzzing around, is the conversation around net neutrality, and how this could potentially be infringing. And we want to clarify, and we have clarified through our legal resources and how it is that we're operating QoE, that we are not favoring applications over other applications. So in the world of net neutrality, where there would be violations, it's usually where content providers who are also providing internet services are favoring certain streaming platforms or different platforms over others. We are simply managing or what is identified as reasonable network management for all traffic, that essentially is giving you guys the ability to manage that traffic in a healthy way to protect the integrity of the service that you are providing to your end users. And this is network wide. This is not specific to any specific application. So essentially that is debunked when it comes to reasonable network management. So what some of these features that I mentioned, just add some visuals around it. TCPO, this is a graph from a live network where you can kind of see the benefits of TCPO, where, like I said, those applications that initiate somewhat of a download session. So you see Netflix, Hulu, PlayStation downloads, probably Call of Duty, or some popular games, Elden Ring, Amazon Video for buffers, Roku. In this case, the customer has experienced a 25% increase in TCP speed throughout their network. So essentially, this is saying that all applications are operating 25% faster through TCP optimization. And then you could see here, Netflix is operating 40% faster, 17 for Hulu, 88. And I've seen some where it's like 150%. Every network is different, and it's really just a matter of what applications are being utilized by those customers. Dave mentioned buffer bloat. Now, I was trying to grab a screen capture of a customer who actually had a D-, and prior to QoE on an LTE network, I wasn't able to get the screen share for that, but a B2A is very good, but we've seen cases where it was a D- and it went up to an A+. So This is obviously, as you guys know, a very good litmus test to how your network is performing before and after. And we've seen all across the board A's and A pluses when we do a before and after comparison utilizing buffer flow. Another visualization for ACM, this is kind of a graph that is outlining the overall congestion and what percentage of that traffic is being, in orange here, is being mitigated and resolved through ACM. This is some of the application insights that I mentioned. So this is what it looks like in the dashboard for DPI visibility, our network visibility tool. So this is the overall network view of all of the applications that will be running throughout the network, as I mentioned, and you can also drill down to the subscriber view to get a more granular insight into what that specific subscriber utilizes the most to better service them and to get a better understanding of what it is that they do. Our overall QoE subscriber metrics dashboard allows you to create different thresholds for visibility, gives an overall view of all of the subscribers that are the most active. You can sort by in real time what customers are your top customers to your least, what customers have the most retransmits. Kind of gives you a full view, and you can get as granular as you like as far as visibility into all of your subscribers and create different policies and rules and shaping profiles for them. This is a view into the subscriber dashboard. Now, one of the newer features that we've recently added is our live mode. So this is great for support, your support reps. When a customer is calling in and they want to ask a question about performance, or they may notice an issue, this gives you a real-time histogram into what is going on at that very moment, their current speed, their current latency, their current DPI. So you can see the applications that are running at that very moment to get a better understanding of how that household or that subscriber is performing at that moment. Some more visibility into the UI, live mode, as I mentioned. This is another feature that we've added for some of the QoE customers who may be on the call now who haven't done a firmware update, but we've classified DPI signatures for the real-time graphing and grouping, considering that there's so many different domains for Amazon, for YouTube, Facebook. So we kind of color coded that and made it a little bit easier to read and a little easier on the eyes. And just to kind of go through, I guess if you look at this one here is our subscriber dashboard. So this is further into that view of that subscriber. And this also gives visibility into retransmits and latency. This is actually a pretty good one where ACM seemed to have kicked in almost one-to-one with the congested traffic, where 65% of that traffic was congested and ACM mitigated 57% of that, which is really good. So it really kicked in to smoothen out that session and mitigate that congestion. And as I mentioned, now we're going into shaping. Kind of highlighted this already, but just to reiterate, our traffic shaping, you can get as customized as you want. We've simplified the process and we take pride in our onboarding process for our QoE customers. We've created a golden config rule file that pretty much has already identified, as I mentioned, all of the applications that we've seen customers are utilizing, and the very popular ones, Facebook, Netflix, Hulu, and essentially created a script that scrubs all of those applications and creates a shaping policy and configuration so that you don't have to go and build out the rules tree. So it's pretty cookie cutter, and you can add to it, you can remove, you can customize it based off of certain packages that you guys offer. If you want to create specific shaping rules for a specific package, you can do that. And yeah, essentially this is the method to that for just a simple upload, right? Rather than having to take a few hours, because it can be pretty cumbersome if you want to build it out yourself. And we have a lot of customers who have a lot of fun with it. And some of those rules trees are pretty intricate. So it can be as simple or as complicated as you want to build it out. So I'm going to transition our newest feature, our subscriber group shaping, to Ashraf.
Oh, thank you, Sheldon. Yeah, so this is one of the latest features that we added to the system release R4.21, which is the subscriber group shaping. And it allows the operator, the WISP, to go and apply shaping rules, sort of MIR, on a pair of groups of a group of subscribers. The group of subscribers could be all subscribers under one AP, or all subscribers under a tower, or all subscribers passing through a backhaul, or all subscribers that are connected to the QE. So you can put a shaping limit, and this allows a multi-hierarchical shaping for APs. For example, and the benefits of that is, if an AP, for example, capacity is 200 megabit per second, that's an AP capacity. And after that, the latency goes skyrocketing on that AP for all the subscribers. Now, ACM itself, as Sheldon mentioned, will be mitigating latency. But if a lot of customers are busy and they're downloading data and making the sector, that AP or the backhaul itself, becoming overutilized, then setting this, we added this feature in order to go and do a shaping at the backhaul or at the AP level or at the tower level, in order to maintain, and as another tool in order to help to maintain the latency to applications to be smaller and within acceptable range that the customer wants, and keep the responsiveness of the network to the end user. So this is one of the latest features that we added. The subscribers can be, the grouping subscribers can be done by IP address or by a subscriber ID. If you have integration with one of the billing systems that we support, then we read this information automatically from the billing system if it's configured in the billing system. With the statistics that we show on a per group is similar to what you see on a per subscriber. You will see the speed, the average speed, the latency, the TCP segment retransmission, active flows. Also ACM, also you see ACM related statistics, what's the congestion on that subscriber group, and how much ACM helped in reducing the latency when it gets congested. This is one of the features that were in demand in the beginning when we started the QE journey. And finally, we were able to go and develop it and deliver it. And we're getting also good feedback from our customers who are applying it, because it's an extra tool to go and manage the network. Now you can manage it on an AP level, at a tower level, or at a backhaul level. Sheldon, yes. And this is just a graph that shows how to configure the rate policy for a subscriber group. As we mentioned, you create a policy, and then you assign that policy to their subscriber group, and then that's it. The algorithm itself and the shaping will be in effect and start shaping that subscriber group automatically to the limit that's set. And there is a limit for downlink and uplink. I think that's it, Sheldon, for, yes. So that's it for the subscriber grouping. And Dave, next I think is Chris.
Yep. So I wanted to introduce Chris Epperson, who is also our one of our QoE customers. And Chris, just wanted to take the time, if you can, to I guess explain your interests, what interested you in QoE, and what has your journey been like so far with the product?
Sure. So we know about QoE and have some familiarity with it because we had deployed some other solutions that are available now in the market prior. So we're familiar with QoE in that way. And when we were looking around for the latest and greatest, obviously we came to Cambium, who we work with for equipment and backhaul and other sorts of things. And we said, okay, this is a vendor that we know very well. If we're looking to upgrade our QoE or try another solution, they'd be a good fit. So we went ahead with a trial of the QoE solution. We commissioned Link Technologies Incorporated to build a server for us and flash the program onto the server and configure it, and also to onboard it into our network, which they did. And that was all very plug and play for us. We were able to get that server running very quickly. Right out of box, we saw improvements. We saw immediately that speedtest.net speed tests were much improved. And we were essentially hitting whatever rates were available at the radio side. So if we ran a speed test on the radio's built-in speed test program, we were seeing that on speedtest.net as far as the speed that we were getting, which was certainly something that we hadn't experienced up to that point, other than in ideal conditions on the network. So that was a big improvement, and it allowed us to offer higher plans and really be able to see those plans, greater than 100 megabit plans. And that's just something that we weren't able to do very much prior. So you're going to see those rates, and that's of course if you have the backbone capacity to provide those rates, and if the radios are able to do that, you will see those on speedtest.net. With a quick rule addition, we were able to roll that out to other speed tests, fast.com, for instance, and some of the others. So that was a huge improvement for us, and just the plug and play situation was also very ideal. It wasn't as extensive as some of the other QoEs that we've tried, but we're able to see the analytics on the QoE dashboard, and we're able to see some of that other stuff that we were also wanting to keep from our other QoE provider there, and we're able to see all that, and it's very detailed. So overall, it was just the kind of thing where where we were expecting it to be a little bit more extensive than it really was, and it wasn't. It was just a plug and play deal. As far as performance and other applications, it's certainly improved streaming right out of box. We applied a rule to it related to streaming, and that improved things even more. You can do that in two different ways. You can introduce shapers, like they mentioned, they had mentioned previously, or you can do it without shapers and just have the TCP optimization occurring, and have a flow for shapers, or for Netflix and streaming and so forth. And that's what we did. We have that flow, and that's essentially a fast lane for streaming. That's improving things as well. So, overall, it's something that I strongly recommend in this community, and it's been a very positive experience.
Yeah, Yeah, and it really allows operators to stay competitive, right? Because if you think about it, you know, the reason why a customer would want to jump from one to another is, you know, buffering or bad experience. But for the wireless operators, it really is a tool that allows you to stay competitive against fiber operators or those that are providing or marketing, hey, faster speeds, right? It's all about those faster interactions, those lower latency experiences, to have a quality experience. Glad to hear that you
Yeah.
had.
And one other thing I wanted to mention too is that this really makes those higher quality platforms shine. So if you're getting into the 4500 or the 4600 or Tirana or Wave, it's something that will really show those higher numbers, will allow your network to really show those higher numbers that those platforms can provide. So when I do a speed test on a Tirana, for instance, that's what I get on speedtest.net. And that's, you know, 400, 600 megs or more download. So, I mean, if you're going to run those platforms, it really makes sense to have this in my mind, because, you know, you're going to want to be able to, you know, it's one thing to have the radios be able to do it, but it's another thing to have your backbone network able to do it. And really able to show those to the end user, those speed test results.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's an additional layer of redundancy because a lot of those radios are going to put out, like you said, that performance, but there's always going to be those small ailments that may create a little bit of a hiccup. And this is that insurance policy, essentially, right? From a backhaul AP perspective. And then also, more importantly, what happens inside the home from a Wi-Fi perspective, because that's where you get a lot of congestion and retransmit. So all in all, from the hub all the way down to the end user device, this is truly going to optimize and mitigate a lot of those things that you typically just don't see, right? And can't account for it, and it does that at the drop.
So Chris, since you've deployed, do you often or ever make changes to the policies that the rules that you've established? Do you set them and leave them be? What's your ongoing maintenance procedure with QoE?
yeah, so there is no maintenance for us. I mean, it's just you set it and forget it type thing. Is what we've seen. If we wanted to get into what we had been doing with other QoE vendors, we would be setting per subscriber rates just to ensure that the radios built-in shaping is effective, because some of those radios out there will burst way past what they're set to. And all that extra bandwidth, you know, can be used elsewhere. So that's one thing that we might introduce at some point. But I mean, you know, we really try to keep enough bandwidth in our network generally, so that's not necessary. We can let a little bit extra go here and there, but like I say, there can be quite a bit of overhead. So. Yeah, so you could save yourself a lot of headaches with this appliance, and you know, the fact that you can build these higher end servers to run the appliance, or just servers in general that you know have 72 cores or whatever you need, and so it's a far removed from some of the other you know, QoE solutions with less robust systems.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Chris. We appreciate having, you know, hearing your testimonial of how this has worked in the real world. Right? If I just sort of sit back and look at everything I've heard, I mean, this is a software-based solution. So the concept of QoE has been around for many years, and Dave and I were talking about this morning. So in the early days, it was very much hardware-based. It was expensive, not scalable. That's no longer the case. You spin this up on a virtualized server. Right, you know, if you need more bandwidth, you get a faster server, right? So it's very, very scalable, right? The policies, as Sheldon said, the policies, Cambium's done a lot of work with that analysis. Again, these solutions have been around for a long time. They've got policies that are tried and true. You take out of the box and just works. And a lot of people, they don't tweak them, right? Chris's case, they made one small optimization outside of that and haven't touched it since, right? And again, it works for both fixed networks, if people are deploying fiber, as well as wireless networks. It works for either. It sits in the core, so it doesn't matter what the technology is at the access. It's in the core, right? When I think of QoE, initially I think of giving people the experience they want down at the end user, and it absolutely does that. If I'm sitting at home and I have a small internet connection, I want to make sure that my Netflix works, and it's going to absolutely make sure I get that experience. But from the operator's perspective, where you have all that traffic coming in, and I do have limited bandwidth going to the outside world, I want to make sure that valuable resource is well used, right? And I think Chris can talk to that. But I can make sure that all of the bandwidth I am consuming is being used for the right things, and I'm not wasting it. And I don't have to go and buy more bandwidth or plow more fiber or buy another piece of hardware. Right?
Absolutely.
So I guess I want to open up to any questions. I haven't seen any questions in the chat, unless I've missed them. If there's any questions, please enter them in the chat, and we'll try and get you answers here while we've got people on the call. Quiet here. I'm not seeing any questions.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a couple of minutes if you got some questions. Obviously, if you think of questions after the fact, quite often, after half an hour, like, oh, what about this? Absolutely, reach out to us, and we'll get you an answer. Or if you've got more in-depth technical questions, we'd be happy to get the right people on a call and walk through. How does this work? How do I spin it up? Whatever those questions are, we can walk through those scenarios with you. So.
Yeah, also I just want to add also we are in the next release, which is going to be in about a month or so, we're adding flow prioritization. So we'll be able to prioritize certain type of traffic over others. Right now, the QoE implicitly prioritizes interactive traffic, but we're added an explicit way of prioritizing flow. So you create a flow policy, and you say, okay, and you give it a priority. And the QoE inside will be prioritizing that. So this is something that's coming in about a month and a half.
We do have one question from Justin Stout for you, Ashraf. How can we configure the QoE to operate in a high availability configuration? I think you're muted.
Ashraf's muted.
Yes, yes, sorry. Yeah, we're in high availability currently. That's something that we're working on to go and support and add. Currently, you need to have two licenses. One is active and one is backup. But we're working on a clustered solution. And once we have that cluster management, you will be able to have the high availability with the same license. And with Cambium, we can work that on a case-by-case basis right now, given the current solution. But once we have the cluster management, that will be a simple and easy way to go and manage it.
Ashraf, can you talk a little bit about the automatic or the bypass? If something were to happen with the server, talk about how the bypass works.
Yeah, so for the bypass, we have there are two or three ways of doing it. One is the hardware bypass, where the NIC card itself will detect that there is hardware power is down, and the NIC card is going to bypass the traffic and bypass the QoE at all, and will maintain the continuity of the packets and the data. This is a more expensive Intel-based NIC card. So that's the hardware solution, hardware bypass. There is another one which is also using the bypass switches. You can have a hardware bypass like I forget the name, where it's bypass. It does the bypass automatically, so it detects that a port is down, and it will bypass it to another port and making sure that the link is continued. The other one is through the software bypass, which is OSPF routing, and then you can do that and bypass the QoE in case of maintenance or when there is failure. So there, and we have a white paper that explains all of these different bypass options. There is a question: how does Cambium QoE integrate with ISP CRMs? With the CRM, you can, with the CRM, there is, in the QoE, there is a subscriber dashboard, where in the subscriber dashboard, you can access it through an IP address or a subscriber ID. So you can, if in the CRM, you can include a hyperlink, a link that you can add. So whenever a customer, when the customer support wants to access a subscriber dashboard in the QoE, they just click on that link in the CRM, and it will take them directly to the QoE and will show the details of that subscriber, which is the subscriber dashboard. And it can be accessed, as I mentioned, by the subscriber IP address or the subscriber ID. So you can have that integration directly from CRM, or support will be able to access the subscriber statistics and history directly from the QoE through CRM.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris, the questions here: has your customers noticed improvement, and what are they saying?
Yeah, they have. We had a guy who told us, whatever you're doing, you're doing it right. Right after we deployed it. So that's one of the bits of feedback. We've had others who say, things are working better, and it's my streaming quality's improved. My speed tests have improved. So it's just like immediately that we noticed that difference. So.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Ashraf, there's another question here from Justin talking about the idea of hot standby and clustering. If you can answer that question for him.
Yeah, so which is the so there is the for high availability, you have the active and then the standby, and with the cluster management feature that we're working on, once it's available, you will be able just to have one management, and you'll be able to switch license between the active and the standby and all of that dynamically. Yeah. So that's what we understand for large deployments. This is something that's required, and we're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I have a question for Chris. So I know you highlighted a lot of the ease of use in comparison to other QoE solutions. What would you say from a cost perspective, how it fared against other solutions?
Well, certainly the yearly cost is about the same as some of the other solutions out there. I liked how you can choose different bandwidth levels based on what your network actually needs, and pay less or more based off of that. But yeah, for us it's the exact same really as the other solution we were using. So that's but I mean, you obviously have some cost to build the server or whatever, but that's not too bad. But I think it's those recurring costs that folks really look at. And yeah, that's about the same. Now, if we were shaping more than we are now, we could probably go with a license that would have been less than what we really need now, with wanting to do all kinds of things with, you know, Tiranas and everything with the higher speeds. We could have gone with that lesser license because the shapers, if we had those active, could reduce our overall network traffic by, you know, a couple of gigs or more. So that's just less that we'd have to pay. And that's, you know, just with the click of a button on the server's dashboard. So that's a possibility. It's just, you know, that we're looking for, you know, the best of the best at this point in time. But anybody could probably save money with this thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as we know, bandwidth consumption only goes in one direction, right? So
Exactly.
Don't see
any
more.
other questions from the audience? Doesn't look like it. All right.
Some good
I think
ones.
I think we've answered everybody's questions. Again, if you think of something else, please reach out to us, and we will get you an answer. This session is being recorded, so you know, if you want to go back and revisit something, it'll be available here shortly online for everybody to take a look. I want to thank everybody for attending. I hope you got something out of this. This is a great solution, and as you can see, you know, Chris has been very happy with it, and it's brought a lot of benefits to his network and to his customers. So again, thank you very much, and everybody have a good day.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.